Orbital Station Harmony 7 floated in the darkness of space like a giant metal flower. Ships came and went every hour. Traders sold strange goods from 100 different worlds. Aliens of all shapes and sizes walked through its wide corridors. It was supposed to be a place of peace, a neutral zone where all species could meet and trade without fear. Captain Park Do-hun guided his ship, the Pale Blue Dot, into Docking Bay 17. The old cargo vessel groaned as it settled onto the landing pad. Do-hun was a tall man with tired eyes and rough hands. He had been flying trade routes for 15 years. He knew every trick, every shortcut, every danger in this part of the galaxy. But today was supposed to be simple. Just a quick stop for fuel and supplies. Nothing more. "Yuna," he called out as he powered down the engines. "We're here. You can go explore, but stay close to the market district." A small face appeared at the cockpit door. Park Yuna was 9 years old. She had big curious eyes and hair tied in 2 short braids. She was Do-hun's younger sister, and she had been living on the ship since their parents died in the colony wars 6 years ago. The war had taken everything from them except each other. "Can I buy something?" Yuna asked, bouncing on her feet. Do-hun smiled and handed her a few credit chips. "Something small. And be back in 2 hours." Yuna grabbed the credits and ran off the ship before he could change his mind. Do-hun watched her go with a mix of love and worry. She was too young to remember Earth properly. The ship was the only home she really knew. He wished he could give her more. A real house. A school. Friends her own age. But for now, this was their life. Han Mai-rei, the ship's nurse and medic, walked up behind him. She was a calm woman in her 30s, with gentle hands and sharp eyes. She had joined the crew 3 years ago and had become like family. "She'll be fine," Mai-rei said. "The station is safe." Do-hun nodded, but the worry never fully left his face. "I know, I just can't help it." Yuna walked through the market district with wide eyes. Everything amazed her. There were stalls selling glowing fruits from jungle planets. Shops filled with strange machines that hummed and beeped. Aliens twice her height walked past without even looking at her. She felt small but excited. She stopped at a stall selling colorful stones. The seller was a friendly creature with 4 arms and a wide smile. Yuna picked up a blue stone that sparkled like the ocean she had seen in old Earth videos. "How much?" she asked. 5 credits, little one," the seller said. Yuna paid and put the stone in her pocket. She was so happy with her treasure that she didn't watch where she was going. She turned around quickly and bumped into something hard. She fell backward and landed on the floor. When she looked up, her heart stopped. Standing above her was a tall alien covered in shiny black armor that looked like the shell of a beetle. The alien had large red eyes and long limbs that ended in sharp points. This was a Tyranni, one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. They controlled dozens of star systems and held many seats on the Galactic Council. This particular Tyranni wore a golden sash across her chest. It marked her as Commander Velith, a high-ranking military officer of the Tyranni Dominion. Velith looked down at Yuna with pure disgust. Her mandibles clicked together in anger. "You touched me," Velith hissed. Her voice was cold and sharp like breaking glass. "You filthy Deathworlder larva. You touched my ceremonial robes." Yuna's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry." She tried to stand up, but before she could move, Velith's arm swung down. The chitinous limb was as hard as steel. It struck Yuna across the face with terrible force. The little girl flew backward and hit the ground hard. Blood poured from her face. Her cheekbone was broken. She didn't move. The market went silent for a moment. Then, slowly, everyone looked away. The other aliens pretended they had seen nothing. Station security officers, all of them Tirani, stood nearby and did nothing. One of them even laughed. "Pathetic creatures," Velas said, looking at the unconscious child like she was garbage. "Humans should keep their larvae on leashes." She stepped over Yuna's body and continued walking as if nothing had happened. Han Mei had been shopping for medical supplies nearby when she heard the commotion. She pushed through the crowd and found Yuna lying in a pool of blood. Her medical training kicked in immediately. She checked the girl's pulse and breathing while calling for emergency help on her communicator. "Dohan," she said, her voice shaking. "Come to the market district now. It's Yuna. She's hurt. She's hurt badly." Dohan arrived in minutes. He had run the entire way. When he saw his sister lying on the ground, something inside him went cold. He knelt beside her and touched her face gently. His hands came away red with blood. "What happened?" His voice was quiet. Too quiet. Mei told him what she had learned from witnesses. A Tirani commander had struck Yuna for accidentally bumping into her. Station security had done nothing. No one had helped. Dawn said nothing. He simply picked up his sister in his arms and stood. His face showed no emotion. His eyes were empty and cold like deep space. Nearby, a group of Tirani officers watched and laughed among themselves. "Look at the primitive," one said. "So emotional over a damaged larva. They breed like insects anyway," another replied. "One less won't matter." Doan heard every word. He looked at them once. Just once. Then he turned and carried Yuna back to the ship. The Tirani thought they understood humans. They had read the reports. Humans were from a dangerous world. Yes. They called Earth a death world because of its harsh conditions. But humans seemed so weak, so soft, so ruled by their feelings. The Tirani believed that emotional creatures were easy to control, easy to break. They had bullied humanity for decades in the Galactic Council. They blocked human trade deals. They denied humans basic protections. They treated humans like animals. And now one of their commanders had broken a human child's face for touching her clothes. They expected crying. They expected angry words and useless protests. They did not expect what came next. As Dohan carried Yuna into the medical bay of the pale blue dot, he gave Mireille a single order. "Send the message to Earth Command. Full details. Video if you can get it. Everything." "What are you going to do?" Mireille asked. Dohan looked at his sister's broken face. She was so small, so innocent. She had never hurt anyone in her life. "I'm going to let Earth know what happened," he said. "And then I'm going to let them decide what happens next." Within hours, the message reached Earth. Within days, it had spread through every human colony, every military base, every ship in the fleet. A Tirani officer had broken a little girl's face, and the galaxy was about to learn why humanity had survived their death world for so long. The message reached Earth Military Command at 0347 hours. By 0400, it had been flagged as Priority 1. By 0430, it was on Admiral Kang Taiho's desk. The Admiral sat alone in his office, watching the security footage on his screen. His face showed no expression as he watched Commander Velas strike Park Yuna. He watched the little girl fly backward. He watched her blood spread across the station floor. He watched the Tirani security officers laugh. He watched it 3 times. Admiral Kang was 62 years old. He had white hair cut short and a face full of old scars. He had fought in the colony wars for 12 years. He had seen friends die. He had ordered attacks that killed thousands. He had made peace with the violence of his past. But watching this video made his hands shake, not from fear, from rage. He picked up his communicator and made 2 calls. The first was to General Beek Jisoo, head of Earth's Special Operations Command. The second was to Ambassador Osuni, humanity's representative to the Galactic Council. 1 hour later, all three sat in a sealed room deep beneath Earth military headquarters. No windows, no recording devices, no witnesses. Ambassador spoke first. She was a small woman with silver hair and eyes that had seen too much politics. She had spent 30 years fighting for humanity's place in the galaxy through words and diplomacy. "I've contacted the Council," she said. "The Tyranni have already responded. They claim Commander Velith was acting within her rights to discipline a creature that showed disrespect to a superior officer." "A 9-year-old girl," Admiral Kang said. "To them, she's not a child. She's a Deathworlder larva. Less than an animal." General Beak leaned forward. She was a hard woman with muscles like steel cables and eyes like a hunting hawk. She had built the Ghost program from nothing. Her soldiers were the most dangerous humans alive. "What can diplomacy do?" she asked. Ambassador sighed. "Nothing. The Tyranni have immunity under Council law. We can file protests. We can make speeches. We can demand investigations that will never happen. But officially, legally, we can do nothing." "Officially," Admiral Kang repeated. The room went quiet. Ambassador looked at both military officers. She had worked with them for years. She knew what they were thinking. Part of her wanted to stop them. Part of her wanted to remind them of laws and treaties and the importance of peace. But then she remembered the video. The sound of the blow. The blood on the floor. The laughter. "I didn't hear anything in this room," she said quietly. "I was never here." She stood and walked to the door. Before leaving, she turned back. "Whatever you do, make sure the galaxy understands why." Then she was gone. Admiral Kang turned to General Beak. "The ghosts. Are they available?" "Team 7 is on standby. 6 operators. Best we have. Who leads them?" "Lieutenant Yoon Ha-jin." Admiral Kang nodded slowly. He knew the name. Everyone in command knew the name, even though Yoon Ha-jin didn't officially exist. The young lieutenant had completed missions that were supposed to be impossible. He had gone into places no human should survive and walked out without a scratch. "Brief him personally," Admiral Kang ordered. "Full authorization. Whatever resources he needs." General Beak stood. "Rules of engagement?" The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. He thought about his own daughter. She was grown now, with children of her own. He thought about what he would do if someone hurt them. "One rule," he said. "Make sure the message is clear." General Beak saluted and left. Admiral Kang stayed in the sealed room alone. He looked at his hands. They had stopped shaking. The rage was still there, but now it was cold, controlled, focused dots somewhere in the galaxy. Commander Velith was probably celebrating. She probably thought she had put humans in their place. She probably believed she was untouchable. She was wrong. Meanwhile, on orbital station Harmony 7, Park Yuna lay in the medical bay of the pale blue dot. Her face was wrapped in bandages. The bone had been set, but she would need real surgery on Earth to heal properly. Doan sat beside her bed, holding her small hand. He hadn't slept since the attack. He hadn't eaten. He just sat there, watching his sister breathe. Han Mai-Ray brought him tea. He didn't drink it. The response from Earth came, Murray said softly. "They're sending a medical ship to take Yuna home. They want us to leave the station immediately." Dohan nodded but didn't speak. "There's something else," Mai-Ray continued. "The message said, it said that the matter is being handled. That's all. Just that it's being handled." For the first time in 2 days, something changed in Dohan's eyes. A small spark of something. Not hope exactly. Something darker. Something satisfied. "Good," he said. Far across the galaxy, on a small moon that appeared on no official maps. Lieutenant Yoon Ha-jin received his briefing. He was 28 years old, but looked older. His face was calm and handsome in a forgettable way. That was intentional. Ghosts needed to be invisible. They needed to be the kind of face you saw in a crowd and forgot immediately. But his eyes gave him away if you looked closely. They were the eyes of someone who had seen too much death and learned to be comfortable with it. General Beak showed him the video. He watched it once without expression. "The target is Commander Velith," General Beak said. "Tirani Dominion, currently on her homeworld for a military celebration. Heavy security. Their capital city has never been breached by any outside force." Ha-jin nodded. "My team? Your choice. Up to 6 operators." Ha-jin already knew who he would take. Sergeant Choi Yoonji for demolitions. Corporal Shin Minho for close combat. Corporal Im Soo-jin for infiltration. Private No Jung-woo for sniper support. Private Kwon Hana for tech and hacking. Timeline? He asked. The celebration is in 5 days. The galaxy needs to see this happen while everyone is still talking about the attack. Maximum impact. Ha-jin stood. Extraction plan? General Beak smiled grimly. You're ghosts. You don't exist. There is no extraction plan. Get in. Complete the mission. Get out. How you do it is up to you. And the message? Make sure every species in the galaxy understands what happens when you hurt a human child. Make sure they never forget. Ha-jin saluted. Understood. He left the briefing room and gathered his team. Within 6 hours, they were on a stealth ship heading toward Tirani space. No records of their departure existed. As far as the universe knew, they had never left that nameless moon. Back on Earth, Admiral Kang watched their ship disappear from tracking. He thought about Commander Velith. He wondered if she was sleeping well. He wondered if she had already forgotten about the little human girl she had. Broken. He hoped she had. He wanted her to be completely surprised when death came for her. Tirani had controlled the galaxy for thousands of years. They had crushed rebellions. They had conquered worlds. They believed themselves to be the peak of evolution, that they had never faced humans. Not really. They had seen human merchants and diplomats. They had seen humans beg and plead in council chambers. They had never seen what humans could do when they stopped asking and started taking. They were about to learn. 6 ghosts flew through the darkness of space toward the Tirani homeworld. They carried no flags. They wore no uniforms. They represented no government. They carried only one thing, the memory of a little girl's blood on a station floor, and that was enough. The Tirani homeworld was called Verith Prime. It was a beautiful planet with purple skies and gentle winds. The gravity was light, only half of Earth's pull. The air was clean and sweet. There were no dangerous animals, no deadly diseases, no natural disasters. It was paradise. The Tirani had evolved here over millions of years. They had never needed to be strong because nothing threatened them. They had never needed endurance because the climate was always perfect. They had grown tall and elegant with hard shells and sharp limbs, but they were fragile inside. They called humans Deathworlders as an insult. They didn't understand what it really meant. Earth was a world that tried to kill its children every day. Earthquakes, floods, fires, diseases, predators with teeth and claws. Humans had survived all of it. They had grown strong bones and tireless muscles. They could run for hours without stopping. They could survive wounds that would kill any Tirani instantly. They could keep fighting when they should be dead. The Tirani had forgotten this. Or maybe they had never believed it. Lieutenant Yoon Ha-jin stood on a rooftop in the capital city of Vareth Prime. The night sky above him glowed with 3 moons. The city stretched out below like a garden of lights and crystal towers. Beautiful, peaceful, undefended. "Position report," he said quietly into his communicator. "Yoonji in position. North sector. Charges ready." Sergeant Choi Yoonji's voice was calm and professional. "Minho in position. East entrance. Ready to move." Corporal Shin Minho sounded almost bored. "Sujin inside. Servant disguise holding. No suspicion." Corporal Im Sujin had entered the Grand Citadel 2 days ago as a cleaning servant. No one had looked at her twice. Jungwoo in position. 3 kilometers south. Clear sight lines. Private No Jungwoo was already lying on a distant rooftop with his rifle. "Hana with me. Systems ready." Private Kwan Hana sat beside Hajin, her fingers dancing over a small computer. Her eyes reflected the glow of alien code. Hajin nodded to himself. Everything was in place. 3 days of watching. 3 days of learning. 3 days of waiting. Tonight was the night. The Grand Citadel rose from the center of the city like a monument to Tarani pride. It was made of black stone and gold metal. It had stood for 10,000 years. No enemy had ever breached its walls. Tonight, 300 Tarani officers gathered inside for the Victory Gala. They celebrated their dominance over a dozen conquered worlds. They wore their finest armor and their brightest medals. They drank sweet wine and laughed at old jokes. Commander Veleth stood among them. She wore new ceremonial robes, even more expensive than the ones the human child had touched. She had already forgotten the girl's face. Humans all looked the same to her anyway. "Commander," a young officer said, approaching her with a bow, "your speech was magnificent. The council will surely give you the promotion now." Veleth clicked her mandibles in satisfaction. "Of course they will. I have earned it." The humans filed their little protest as expected. The council dismissed it as expected. "Nothing changes. They are weak creatures," the officer agreed. "Emotional and primitive. Indeed. They do not understand power. They do not understand that the galaxy belongs to the strong." Veleth raised her glass. "To strength. To strength," the officers around her repeated. Above them, on the Citadel's roof, Corporal Im Sujin moved through the shadows. Her servant disguise was gone now. She wore black armor that blended with the darkness. In her hands, she carried small metal devices. She placed them on the power conduits. One by one. Silent and precise. "Charges set," she whispered. "Ready for blackout." Hajin checked his watch. "All teams. Final check. 60 seconds to go. North ready. East ready. Inside ready. Overwatch ready. Act ready." Hajin took a slow breath. He thought about the little girl in the video. He thought about her blood on the floor. He thought about the laughter. "Remember why we're here," he said. "A child was hurt. No politics. No territory. No resources. Just a little girl who bumped into someone by accident. And they broke her face. They laughed." He paused. "We're not here for Earth. We're not here for the military. We're here because that's not acceptable. That will never be acceptable. And tonight, we make sure the galaxy knows it." Silence on the communicator. Then, one by one, "Understood. Understood. Understood. Understood." Hajin nodded. "Execute." The lights went out. The Grand Citadel plunged into darkness. Emergency alarms screamed. Red backup lights flickered on, casting everything in bloody shadows. Inside the ballroom, chaos erupted. 300 officers stumbled into each other. Guards shouted orders that no one could hear. The elegant party became a mass of confusion and fear. Commander Velith pushed through the crowd. "What is happening?" "Guards, report." No one answered. The Citadel's communication system crackled to life. But instead of tyranny voices, a human voice spoke. Calm, cold, clear. "Commander Velith." The room went silent. Every tyranny froze. "My name is not important. What is important is why I am here." Velith looked around wildly. Where was the voice coming from? It seemed to be everywhere at once. 3 weeks ago, you were on orbital station Harmony 7. A human child accidentally touched your robes. She was 9 years old. Her name is Park Yuna. Velith's blood went cold. She remembered now. The small creature. The impact of her strike. The blood. You broke her face. You fractured her cheekbone. You left her bleeding on the floor. Your security officers laughed. The voice paused. You thought there would be no consequences. You thought humans were too weak to act. You thought your council would protect you. You were wrong. Velith screamed at her guards. Find them. Find the intruders now. Guards rushed toward the exits. The first one reached the eastern door and pushed it open. Corporal Shin Minho was waiting on the other side. The fight lasted less than a second. The guard fell with his throat cut. Before his body hit the ground, Minho had already moved to the next target. Tyranny guards were trained for parade. They were trained to look impressive in their shiny armor. They were not trained to fight Deathworlders. Minho moved through them like wind through leaves. His blade flashed in the red emergency lights. Bodies fell. He didn't slow down. He didn't hesitate. He had trained for this his entire life. On Earth, humans had hunted predators. They had tracked animals for days without rest. They had evolved reflexes faster than any tyranny could imagine. Now those instincts were hunting again. More guards tried to escape through the northern exits. They found the doors sealed by Sergeant Choi Yoonji's explosives. When they tried to force them open, small charges detonated. Not enough to kill, just enough to throw them back and seal the exits forever. They were trapped. Private Kwan Hannah had taken complete control of the Citadel systems. She locked every door. She controlled every camera. She broadcast everything on every frequency in the galaxy. The Tyranny weren't just dying. They were dying on live video for the entire Galactic Council to see. Lieutenant Yoon Ha-jin dropped through a ceiling panel into the ballroom. He landed softly like a cat and rose to his full height. The Tyranny officers backed away from him in terror. This human was not begging. He was not pleading. He was not emotional. He was hunting. "Commander Velith," he called out. His voice was almost gentle. "We need to talk." Velith tried to run. She pushed through her own officers, using them as shields. She headed for the emergency exit that only she knew about. She reached a hidden door and pulled it open. Corporal Im Sujin stood on the other side. "Going somewhere?" Sujin asked. Velith swung her sharp arm at the human woman. Sujin caught it, twisted, and broken at the joint. Velith screamed and fell to her knees. Ha-jin walked up behind her. That was for the little girl's face. He grabbed Velith by the back of her neck and dragged her into the center of the ballroom. Every surviving Tyranny watched in horror. Every camera in the galaxy watched too. "You call us Deathworlders," Ha-jin said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You think it's an insult. But let me tell you what it really means." He threw Velith to the ground. "It means we are survivors. It means we come from a world that wanted us dead. It means we learn to fight before we learn to speak. It means we protect our own." He drew his blade. "And it means we do not forgive those who hurt our children." The broadcast went to every ship, every station, every planet in the galaxy. Billions of aliens watched what happened next. When it was over, Hajin held Commander Velith's head in his hand. The message was clear. The hunt was complete. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. The broadcast lasted only 7 minutes, but it changed everything. Every species with access to communications watched humans breach an impenetrable fortress. They watched trained Tyranni guards fall like grass before a storm. They watched Lieutenant Yoon Hajin execute Commander Velith in the middle of her own celebration. And then they watched the humans disappear. The Tyranni military responded within minutes. Thousands of soldiers surrounded the Grand Citadel. Attack ships filled the sky. The most powerful scanning technology in the galaxy searched every corner of the capital city. They found nothing. The 6 humans had vanished like smoke. One moment they were there. The next moment they were gone. No trail, no evidence. No bodies. It was impossible. The Tyranni homeworld had the most advanced security in the known galaxy. No species had ever breached their defenses. No invader had ever escaped their pursuit. But the humans were not any species. Lieutenant Yoon Hajin led his team through the ancient drainage tunnels beneath the city. These tunnels were 3,000 years old. The Tyranni had forgotten they existed. Private Quan Hana had found them in the old construction records that no one had looked at in centuries. Status, Hajin whispered as they moved through the darkness. No pursuit detected, Hana reported, checking her scanner. They're looking everywhere except underground. Their evolution, Sergeant Choi Yoonji said with a quiet laugh. They came from a world with no predators. They never learned to check below. Corporal Shin Minho wiped his blade clean as they walked. There was no expression on his face. He had killed 17 Tyranni guards tonight. He felt nothing about it. They had protected someone who hurt a child. They had made their choice. Extraction point in 4 kilometers, Corporal Im Sujin said. The ship is ready. They moved in perfect silence through the ancient stone tunnels. Above them, an entire planet searched for them in panic. The most powerful military in the sector had no idea that their targets were walking right beneath their feet. This was what humans did. This was why they had survived their death world for so long. They didn't fight with strength or technology. They fought with patience, planning, and the willingness to do what others thought was impossible. Back on the surface, the Tyranni Dominion was in chaos. High Commander Rethix stood in the ruins of the Grand Citadel's ballroom, staring at the spot where Velith had died. His shell had gone pale with shock. How? He demanded. How did they get in? How did they get out? Where are they? His officers had no answers. They were humans, High Commander, one officer said weakly. Just humans. Only 6 of them. Only 6, Rethix repeated. 6 humans killed 38 guards, destroyed our security systems, assassinated a commander, and escaped without a trace. Only 6. He grabbed the officer by the throat and threw him against the wall. Find them. Search every ship. Block every escape route. I want their heads. But even as he gave orders, Rethix knew the truth. The humans were already gone. They had planned this too perfectly. They had known things about Tyranni security that even Tyranni officers didn't know. And they had broadcast everything to the galaxy. That was the worst part. It wasn't just an assassination. It was a message. A statement. A warning to everyone who watched. This is what happens when you hurt our children. In the Galactic Council chambers. Panic had already set in. Representatives from 100 species watched the broadcast recordings over and over. They analyzed every frame. They studied every movement. The Malthan ambassador, a creature of blue light and crystalline form, spoke first. The humans have been part of this council for 40 years. We thought we understood them. We understood nothing, the Vrek delegate replied. His species was known for their fear-based decision-making. Right now, he was terrified. We saw their merchants, their scientists, their diplomats. We never saw this. Deathworlders, the Kishan observer whispered. Our people had always been curious about humans, but kept their distance. We use that word without understanding what it means. Their world tried to kill them every day, every generation, for millions of years. And they didn't just survive. They conquered it. The Tyranny ambassador stood, his shell rigid with fury. This was an act of war, unprovoked aggression against a sovereign world. The council must respond. Unprovoked? Ambassador Osuni's calm voice cut through the chamber. Every eye turned to the human representative. She had been sitting quietly through all the chaos, saying nothing. Now she stood with perfect composure. Commander Veleth broke a child's face for touching her clothes. A 9-year-old girl named Park Yuna. She committed this assault on a neutral station under council protection. Your security officers witnessed it and laughed. Your government defended her actions. She walked slowly toward the center podium. For 40 years, humanity has followed your laws. We have respected your customs. We have begged for the basic protections that every other species takes for granted. And for 40 years, you have denied us. You have blocked our trade. You have limited our expansion. You have treated us like animals. Her voice never rose, but it filled the chamber like thunder. We accepted all of this. We believed that patience would eventually earn us our place. We believed that showing restraint would prove our worth. She stopped at the podium and looked directly at the Tyranny ambassador. But our children are not negotiable. Our children will never be acceptable casualties. Our children are the one line that no species, no government, no council will ever be allowed to cross. The chamber was silent. What happened on Vareth Prime was not an act of war. It was justice. The same justice that any species would demand if their children were attacked. You call us emotional. You call us primitive. But when someone hurts your young, do you not feel rage? When your offspring bleed, do you not want blood in return? She let the question hang in the air. The difference is that we act on it. We do not wait for committees. We do not file protests that will be ignored. We do not hope that the guilty will be punished by systems designed to protect them. We handle it ourselves. The Tyranny ambassador sputtered. This is barbarism. You cannot. We can. Ambassador O interrupted. We did. And we will again, if necessary. She turned to face the full council. Humanity has tried peaceful integration. It hasn't worked. So now we will try something else. We will take our place in this galaxy, not because you give it to us, but because you cannot stop us. This is not a threat. It is a fact. You have seen what 6 humans can do. Earth is 8 billion more. She began walking back to her seat. The humans who carried out this mission are already gone. You will never find them. You will never identify them. They do not exist in any record, any database, any file. They are ghosts. And they are everywhere. She sat down with perfect calm. Humanity seeks peace. We always have. But if any species, any government, any individual harms a human child again, there will be no trial, no protest, no diplomatic incident. There will only be consequences. The chamber remained silent for a very long time, far from the council. In a small ship, jumping through empty space, Lieutenant Yoon Ha-jin and his team watched the broadcast of Ambassador O's speech. Private Kwan Hana smiled. She's good. She's been waiting to say that for 30 years. Sergeant Choi Yoonji said. Corporal Shin Min-ho cleaned his blade one more time, even though it was already spotless. Think they'll listen? Ha-jin leaned back in his chair. In his pocket, he carried a small photograph. Park Yuna, smiling at the camera before everything happened. Her brother had given it to him before the mission. a reminder of why they were fighting. "Some will listen," Hajin said. "Some won't. That's not our problem." "What is our problem?" Corporal M. Sujin asked. Hajin looked at the photograph one more time, making sure the ones who don't listen regret it. The ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying 6 ghosts back into the shadows. Their mission was complete. But they all knew it wasn't really over. It was just beginning. 3 days had passed since the execution of Commander Veleth. 3 days of chaos, fear, and furious debate. The Tyranny Dominion demanded blood. They wanted war. They wanted Earth reduced to ash and its people scattered across the galaxy as slaves. The Galactic Council had called an emergency session. Every species sent their highest representatives. The massive council chamber was filled to capacity. Thousands of aliens from hundreds of worlds watched as history unfolded before them. The Tyranny High Commander himself had come. Rethix stood at the podium, his shell gleaming with ceremonial paint. His voice echoed through the vast space. "The humans have committed an act of murder against a decorated officer of the Tyranny Dominion. They invaded our sovereign territory. They broadcast this atrocity to the entire galaxy. This cannot stand." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Many species nodded in agreement. The Tyranny were powerful. They controlled vital trade routes. It was dangerous to oppose them. "We demand the complete disarmament of Earth's military," Rethix continued. "We demand the surrender of all humans involved in this attack. We demand compensation of 1 trillion credits. And we demand the right to station Tyranny observers on Earth to ensure human compliance with galactic law." He slammed his limb against the podium. "If these demands are not met, the Tyranny Dominion will consider itself in a state of war with humanity." The chamber exploded in noise. Some species cheered. Others looked worried. A few remained carefully silent. Then the human delegation's doors opened. Ambassador Osuni walked him along. She carried a small sealed container in her hands. Her face showed nothing, no fear, no anger, no concern. She walked through the chaos with the calm of someone taking a morning stroll. She reached the central podium and placed the container on it. Then she waited for silence. It took several minutes, but eventually the chamber quieted. Everyone wanted to hear what the human would say. "Honored representatives," O began. "I have listened to High Commander Rethix's demands. I have heard your concerns. I have watched this council debate what to do about humanity for 3 days." She placed her hands on the podium. "Before we continue, I want to show you something." She opened the container. Commander Veleth's preserved head sat inside, her compound eyes frozen in their final expression of terror. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Several delegates turned away in horror. The Tyranny delegation surged forward, but council security held them back. "This is not a trophy," Ambassador O said calmly. "This is evidence. Evidence of what happens when the systems designed to protect the innocent fail. Evidence of what happens when those in power abuse the weak. Evidence of what happens when a child's blood means nothing to those who should protect her." She lifted the head and placed it on the podium for everyone to see. Commander Veleth served the Tyranny Dominion for 112 years. She received 17 medals of honor. She was praised for her strength and dedication. She was considered a model officer. O paused. She also struck a 9-year-old human girl hard enough to break bones. She did this in public, on a neutral station, with security cameras recording everything. She faced no consequences. She expressed no regret. She gave interviews mocking human weakness. That is who she was. That is what she did. And that is why she is dead. The chamber was completely silent now. High Commander Rethix has demanded many things: disarmament, surrender, compensation, observers on our world. Oh shook her head slowly. These demands will not be met. Not one of them. Rethik stepped forward. Then you choose war. No, I replied. We choose reality. She pressed a button on the podium. The chamber's screens flickered to life, showing space outside the council station. 47 human warships decloaked simultaneously. They had been there the entire time, hidden in the darkness just beyond sensor range. Destroyers, cruisers, battleships, the full might of Earth's 7th Fleet. Commanded by Admiral Kang Taiho, panic erupted in the chamber. Tarani delegates scrambled for their communicators. Other species looked on in stunned disbelief. How long have they been there? Someone shouted. Since before this session began, O answered. Since before the Tarani fleet arrived. Since before you started debating whether to punish humanity for defending a child. She let that sink in. You have studied humans for 40 years. You have analyzed our biology, our psychology, our society. You thought you understood us. You were wrong. She pointed at the fleet on the screens. You see our merchants. You see our diplomats. You see our scientists building better technology for your comfort. You see us beg for acceptance in your council. And you conclude that we are weak. Her voice hardened. You forget that we evolved on a death world. A planet where everything tried to kill us. Where we had to fight just to survive childhood. Where only the strongest, the smartest, and the most ruthless passed on their genes. You forget that our history is written in blood. We have fought each other for 10,000 years. We have invented weapons that could destroy worlds. We have killed billions of our own kind in our wars. And we survived all of it. She walked slowly around the podium, making eye contact with delegates from every major species. The Tarani believe they are the greatest warriors in the galaxy. Perhaps that was true once. But the Tarani evolved on a paradise world with no predators, no disease, no struggle. You became strong because nothing challenged you. Humans became strong because everything challenged us. Every day, every generation, for millions of years. That is the difference between us. That is what Deathworlder really means. She returned to the podium and picked up Velith's head. The operatives who carried out this mission are called ghosts. They do not officially exist. They have no names, no records, no identities. They are already gone, scattered across the galaxy where you will never find them. But they are watching. They are always watching. And if any species, any government, any individual harms a human child again, she placed the head back in the container and sealed it. They will come. They will find you. And there will be no escape. Ambassador O stepped back from the podium. Humanity seeks peace. We have always sought peace. We wanted trade, to explore, to learn alongside the other species of this galaxy. We want our children to grow up in a universe where they can bump into a stranger by accident without being beaten bloody for it. But we will not beg for that future anymore. We will not wait for you to give us permission to protect our own. From this day forward, humans will be treated as equals. Our ships will travel freely. Our traders will compete fairly. Our people will be protected under the same laws that protect everyone else. This is not a request. This is a statement of fact. She looked at the Tarani delegation one final time. The Dominion can accept this reality, or they can fight it. But before you decide, remember what 6 humans did to your impenetrable fortress. Remember how easily they took your commander's head. Remember that they escaped without a trace. Then imagine what 8 billion humans could do if we truly went to war. She turned and walked toward the exit. The head is yours to keep, High Commander. Consider it a reminder. The doors closed behind her. The council chamber erupted in chaos. But within the week, new protections for human citizens were passed unanimously. The Tarani withdrew their demands. No war was declared. The galaxy had received the message. 6 months later, on Earth, spring had come to the countryside. Flowers bloomed in fields that had been battlegrounds a generation ago. The sun was warm. The sky was blue. Park Yuna ran through a meadow of wildflowers, chasing butterflies and laughing. The scar on her cheek had healed to a thin white line, barely visible unless you looked closely. She didn't remember much about the station. Her brother had told her she fell and hurt herself. She believed him. Park Dawn sat on the porch of their new house, watching his sister play. Han Mireille sat beside him, holding a cup of tea. She seems happy, Mireille said. She is, Doham replied. She doesn't have nightmares anymore. She's making friends at school. She's just a normal kid again. He smiled, but there was sadness in his eyes. He remembered everything. He would always remember. Thank you for staying, he said to Mireille. You didn't have to. Mireille shrugged. Someone needs to make sure you don't work yourself to death. Besides, I like it here. Solid ground under my feet. Real air. It's nice. They watched Yuna pick flowers and make a crown for her hair. On a hill overlooking the meadow, hidden among the trees, Lieutenant Yun Hajin watched through binoculars. He had received no medal for the mission, no recognition, no reward. The ghost didn't exist after all, but he had received something better. A photograph of Yuna smiling with a handwritten note on the back. Thank you for giving her a future. It was signed by her brother. Hajin tucked the photograph back into his pocket. He watched the little girl spin in circles, her flower crown catching the sunlight. This was why he fought. This was why any of it mattered. Not the politics. Not the power. Not the galaxy's opinion of humanity. Just a child playing in a field of flowers, safe and happy and free. His communicator buzzed. A new mission brief. Another species had forgotten the lesson. Another reminder would be needed. He took one last look at Yuna, burning the image into his memory. Then he disappeared into the trees. Somewhere in the galaxy, someone else,